Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this episode of G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, homestead in the desert. And here we are in front of the water tank. And why are we here, you might ask? Well, I had a question about water systems for off-grid. And what do you do for a water system? Well, there's a number of things you can do. You can store water in barrels. Not the best option, because even though these barrels are blue and even though you can paint them with different colors and all of that, they are not designed for long-term holding of water, and algae will grow in them. So you have to actually treat that with chlorine to make sure that you don't get stuff growing in your barrels. Why do I have barrels out here? Well, that's a 2,500 gallon tank that's designed specifically to keep UV rays out so that you don't grow algae inside. Okay, it's got a very specific design just for that. Now you got a big manhole cover up there because you do have to go into these things and clean them once in a while. So I try to plan it to where when I'm going to have a new order of water coming in, I pump everything out of there down into the barrels, and that's my backup. But I try to get the barrels filled up at the same time I'm doing the tank anyway, and I use the water in these barrels for irrigation without having to use my 2,500 gallons of good water that goes to my cabin. Okay, so the first thing you want to do, if you're going to put a big tank like that, you got to have a good pedestal, something to set it on. Now you don't have to be high off the ground like this. You can actually put a concrete slab right on the ground. Make sure it's rebar reinforced or wire reinforced, and make sure it's strong, because there's a lot of weight. Figure there's over 8 pounds per gallon of in water weight. So you got 2,500 times, just go to 8, round it off at 8. You got 2,500 times 8. That's how many pounds of pressure you have on there. So it's a lot of pressure. Okay, and you don't want the thing just cracking and having the concrete cut through the bottom of your tank or anything like that. They're not the cheapest things in the world, so I can't quote a price for you because every place you go is different. Just like those shipping containers. I paid $1,100 or $1,200, I think it was, for one and the other. And somebody was just telling me that they're like $4,000 now. So, it all depends on where you look. All right, so back to the water. So you're going to get your water deliveries, make sure you get some clean water. If it's a company that's reputable, even though it says non-potable on their truck, that's only because it's not a fully stainless steel tank. If the only thing that they haul is municipal water, then it's potable water. Don't worry about it. You'd be fine. All right. So I built a staircase here to make it easy to get up there, so I didn't have to go find a ladder every time I needed to get up there to fill it or anything like that. All right. Under the stairs, I put myself a little filter room in here. Okay. So that's the main filter. That's for jacuzzi tub. Okay, it's got a very large, I think it's an inch and a half, inlet outlet on it, and that's good. Okay, so there's no back pressure on that. The water comes in, and all that is a sediment filter. It is not to clean the water, to make it safe, take chemicals and things like that out. All it does is get sediment. So if some bugs get in there, some sand gets in there, dust gets in there, this thing captures it. Okay, and you got to be able to clean that every now and then. So you're going to want a valve on the front side of it so you can shut off the water there before you take off the bottom of your filter. Now on this side, I put a smaller filter because that's just for the barrels. And again, it's just a sediment filter. It doesn't clean the water. It just keeps debris from flowing down the pipes. This is called shark bite, and this is in 1-inch size. Now on these containers, they want you to make sure that you have a flexible connection between the pipe that runs down to the cabins or to your wherever you're running it to and the tank. So if there's movement, it moves at the flexible connection, and that's why you see that flexible hose in there. It's also nice to be able to see that there's water flowing when you want to. Okay, so I used all shark bite underground, and these are shark bite fittings. The nice thing about using shark bite and shark bite fittings is there's no soldering. It's just push-on connection. You have to buy a couple of special tools that are very inexpensive. There's a cutter, a trimmer, and you got a little horseshoe remover that you see this little plastic piece right there. If you depress that, you can actually pull the pipe back out of there and replace the pipe if you had to. So that's the nice thing about it. So you don't have any soldering or anything like that to do. You just have to cut them straight, clean and bevel the edges, and then just push them into place, and that's it. You're done. All right. So that's a good way to go. Then I can put these T's in so that I could bring the water from the barrels down the same line if I had to. Now this is a bypass right here. So I could open up the bypass and bypass this filter if I just wanted to drain all of those tanks out. All right, so that's what's inside of the filter room. And let me close this up so the window won't blow it open. I'll come back and lock it in a little while. Okay, so I put another T-valve out here to shut it off before the bypass or before the valve. So it doesn't just flow all the time. It only flows when I want it to. And then I put a keyed hose bib here. And you can see the hose bib underneath there. So I can hook a garden hose on there and drain the water out if I have to. Then I manifolded all of the barrels together. So, and the only thing I would do differently if I was going to do it again is I used 1-inch pipe. I would have used 2-inch pipe because when the water is filling up from the truck pumping it in, it doesn't go through this 1-inch pipe very quickly. So the tank fills up before the barrels do. So that's why I try to pump everything out of the container, the big tank, so that I can get in there and clean it up and everything's in the barrels. And then the barrels only need a little bit of water. But since it's a gravity feed type thing, the water level has to get halfway up in the tank or higher than the barrel before these will fill the barrels all the way up. Okay? So you're already halfway full in your tank, big tank, before your barrels start filling up. Well, not before it starts, but before they're completely full. All right, so let's move on down here. I got a lot to cover about it. Oh, while we're here, I did trench underneath here. Now we don't have a real big frost line here, so I only went down 18 inches. For most code and things like that, you want to go down 3 feet anyway, if you can. If I go down 3 feet here, I hit a caliche type hard soil like concrete, and I couldn't get through it. So the way I trenched this was using a Harbor Freight post hole auger, and I just drilled holes every foot all the way down, and then I connected the dots with a trenching shovel. Then I laid my pipe out. Another nice thing about shark bite, you can buy it in 100-foot rolls. So you need a lot of fittings. You don't have to solder every 10 or 20 feet like you would with copper pipe, or screw them together and put a coupler in with a galvanized pipe. So that's a nice thing. So it's all one piece going all the way down. Now, like I said, I got 1 inch that comes off the tank, and it goes down to right behind this my garage here, or this container, and then it reduces down to 3/4 inch. And I'll show you in here. There we go. Okay, so this is a piece of the 1 inch, and it's got a 1 inch opening inside. That's what that means. Okay, it's not 1 inch on the outside, it's 1 inch on the inside. Okay, so this is 3/4. They get this red one, and that almost fits inside of the 1 inch, as you can see. And then this is 1/2 inch right here. So the 1/2 inch is what you would use inside the cabin, going to your sink, your shower, your toilet, things like that. But you bring it down with a minimum of 3/4, so you got a lot of a lot of water, but it's only gravity feed. You're not going to get much pressure. Now, coming up here in the summer, I'm going to be putting a pressurized tank like I did for my neighbor's place up the road in here. It's a shallow well pump with a pressure tank on it. They buy at Harbor Freight Tools for about 160 bucks. So I'll be getting one of those and putting it in here. And there's already electricity inside of here. And like I said, the inlet pipe that goes down from the tank to the cabin runs right behind these containers. It's only about a foot away. So it'd be real easy for me to just dig down, find the pipe, cut the pipe, take a section out, put an L in there, an elbow, and come up and go through the wall and into the inside here, and then go through the pump, back out the wall, and tie it back into the line that's already running to the cabin. And then I just plug the pump in right here, and I'm set. All right. So that's the plan for upcoming. All right, let's move because I don't want to run this video way too long. But I'll come back and finish closing that down the line. All right. So we're headed to the back of the cabin here. Now, originally, my mass shower was over there, right by that light post there, that solar light post. Okay. And after I built the cabin, this is the bedroom, so I brought the shower over to here, and boy, did that work out great. Because what I did was, the wind's blowing, I've got my windproof mic on, so hopefully that's not bothering you too much. Okay, so what I did was I teed off of the 1-inch line that runs right underneath here and down to the cabin. I teed off of it and I came up and I put another piece of 3/4 on and a valve here. So when my tank is topped off, if I want to fill these 2 barrels up here, I just open that valve and the water flows up there and fills those barrels. And then I've got my barrels filled up for my outdoor shower for the summertime. And then I shut the valve off and I'm fine. And I added this on here so that if I'm bringing water up in smaller barrels like that from a friend's house, I just put a garden hose on here with my transfer pump, open the valve, turn the pump on, and I pump the water up into the tops of the tanks. All right. So under the ground, running right here, right underneath my shadow, is the water lines. And then I've got this styrofoam box that I put over it for the pipes that are above ground, so that they don't freeze in the winter time. All right. So this is where my gas, which is propane, goes into the cabin, and this is where my water goes into the cabin. Okay, and I got a main valve shutoff right there. So if I have a problem with a leak in the cabin, I just come out and pull that handle up, shuts off the water. And I put a hose bib on here, more for draining the line down before I have to work on it, which I'll be doing when I put that new pump system in. So think about stuff like that ahead when you're putting your water system together. Let me get this thing back to place here. All right, I'll come and fix that up a little bit better in a little while. All right, so you're going to have hot water, a heater, things like that. You're going to run propane, and you want to have a propane shed close by. Okay, so I got these in here so they're protected. Of course, the birds come in and poop all over everything. Okay, coming off of that, you got to have a pressure regulator. Okay, you buy these at Lowe's or any propane store will have them. They got to have a pressure regulator, and then this little valve you just reverse threads. It's not tighty righty, loosey lefty. This is tighty lefty, loosey righty. So you actually have to crank this thing in reverse, tighten it down, and always bring whenever you're doing propane, always bring Windex with you and spray all your connections. If you see bubbles blowing, you've got a leak. Address it right away, otherwise you'll drain your tanks when you're not paying attention. Okay, I still got plenty of fuel left in that tank. This one's empty, this one's still full. So use that 100 pounds. I still have 200 pounds left here. All right, so this is 3/8 copper tube. I got a compression fitting on here with a ferrule. Okay, so that locks that in, make sure it's tight. Add extra, leave it in a coil so you can move it back and forth from tank to tank. Good tip. Comes out of here and it goes into another stop right here. And why is there another stop here? Well, when I'm going to change the tank, I can shut it off here and it doesn't drain whatever propane is still in the pipes that run into the cabin. So it's got a disconnect between the tank and this point before it gets into the pipe. Okay, so going into the pipe, I got 3/4 inch. You can use galvanized or black iron for gas. Check your local codes for that. I don't know if it's different in other states. But you can use either galvanized or black iron for gas. Now, if you're going to go underground, you got to get by the green wrap stuff. I'll show you that when we go around the corner to go inside the cabin. Or you have to wrap it in this ABS tape. That's all wrapped in ABS tape under the ground and then into the cabin. Okay, now the one that runs, that's black pipe that runs on the outside here. That was easier than trying to run that through the wall, because the wall was already built when I put this, added the propane to it. So that goes over to behind the stove, punches through the wall, and then I got my shut off on the inside, and my flex line to go to the stove. All right, so let's move this way. Boy, it's windy out here. I was traveling down the road feeling hungry and cold. All right. Anyway, that's the green pipe right there. That's gas pipe designed specifically for burial. But if you do use that, you still have to wrap the couplers in ABS tape so that they don't rot underground, okay? So just remember that. That's a piece of 3/4 that I bought for something else and never used it. So anyway, let's get inside here and finish this up. So when I built and designed the cabin, I thought of everything ahead of time. Now remember, this used to be just a front porch area, and I had my washer outside, and pack rats built a nest inside of it. So I decided I'm going to put a room in here and add the laundry. Now in the future, there'll be sliding panel doors here that I can close that off so you don't see it. It just goes straight across. And then this will be a little entry area that comes into the room. All right. So for hot water, I have this tankless water heater, okay, made by Mari. And I ordered it through Home Depot. Very inexpensive. I think it was $150, something like that. Nice little unit. Good for one person. If you have two people using the hot water at the same time, it won't keep up. But it's just me in the cabin, so it does fine keeping up with me. Okay, so now I brought my my propane line out here. And let me get my chunker ice moved here, because I'm going to have wine for dinner tonight, and I like it on the rocks. All right, so this is the propane line, comes out of the wall from where it came in the wall out from outside. And then you got to have a 1/2 inch flex connection line between that connector, and all you're always going to put a stop in between that connector and the unit, because it takes that much volume of gas coming through to operate one of these. That's my wall heater, space heater. That heats the whole cabin, but I'm well insulated in here. So when I close this door or leave it open, it doesn't matter either way. It'll heat all the rooms of this cabin with that little heater. Same thing. I came out the wall down there with my gas line, put my stop on, and then I had to use 1/2-inch flex going up to the unit. It needs that much volume to run. So don't use a smaller 3/8 flex. Your heater won't work right. Your water heater won't work right. Stuff like that. So what do I do for water pressure? Well, originally I started with just gravity feed. And gravity feed was fine, except there wasn't enough pressure to run the water heater. The water heater has to have water pressure to operate. So I think it's, let's see, it says it right on the side here somewhere. Gas type capacity rating, applicable water pressure. Okay, so 0.025. So that's what it says anyway. But in the manual it says that you need at least 30 psi of water going in through the system for it to operate properly. I like this because this controls the amount of water flow through the unit, and I've got it set really low for winter because the faster the water goes through, the less it heats up. So for the winter, I've set it down low so it moves through a little more slowly. I put this on the winter, and in the summer I switch it over to here, and it uses less propane. And then this, I've got the flame all the way up, so when I'm taking a shower, I get plenty of hot water. All right, so I got a regular sink just like everybody else. How do I get water pressure? Well, what I did was underneath here, I put one of those little SureFlow A65s camper water pumps. They're not expensive. You can find them on eBay, on Amazon, or you can go right to sureflow.com and look them up there. And they've got a rubber mount base on them, so they don't vibrate a lot, but it still makes noise, as you can hear. Okay, so that's why I'm going to put that other big pump system out there. And when I do, this is connected with SharkBite fittings. See right there, and that's 1/2-inch lines. So what I'll be doing is popping that off of there, take that pump out, and then I'll get regular elbows, and I'll just put a piece of SharkBite back in between there where the pump used to be, and job done. All right, so that's pretty much everything that you have to worry about for water. Now, if you're planning on building your own cabin, do something like I did, okay? I planned it to put my water heater here. Okay, a lot of people say, well, I don't want my water heater just showing out in the middle of nowhere. You know what? I live off grid. It's fine here. The nice thing about this is that it pipes out, goes up through the attic and out through the roof. So, and this is a B-type vent, so it doesn't really get hot on the outside because it's double walled. And I got the flashings going through the wall. I put that piece of metal up there just so heat won't go up to my ceiling off the edge of the pipe where it slows down to make the corner. Never had a problem with it. It's been there since I built the cabin. So why is it here? Well, my kitchen sink is here. So the water comes in the wall right there in that wall, goes into the inlet on the inside of the water heater, comes out of the inlet and goes right to the sink. So it's got a 4-foot travel through pipe to get to this sink. All right. Then we'll come around here to the bathroom, and excuse the mess. Anyway, this is the wall where the water comes in, and that's where the water heater is sitting right here. So here's my sink. So the distance between the water heater and the sink is minute. The only thing I would do different if I was doing this all over again was I would have got a left-sided tub and put the drain on that side, and then the drain for the sink would have been close to it. And then all of the water would have been right here closer to the water heater. As it is now, it actually has to travel through pipes through that wall, all the way around and come up, and then it goes up to the shower. And then coming off the cold water side of that, it tees off and it goes to the toilet. Okay? And this is the stuff I hate, is the pump. I'll show you how to flush the toilet. Here the pump. So I got a low flush toilet, so it doesn't use much water. That's only like a half-gallon flush. But I'll be eliminating that sound pretty soon when I get my outside water pump installed. And I'll probably be purchasing the pump this week, and then I'll start picking up the parts a little at a time so that I have everything ready, and then it'll all be done in a day's time. I'll have my new pump system in and my old pump system removed, be back in business. All right. The water that comes out of that tank is clean. It's municipal water, just like the stuff you get in your house. That's the company that delivers to me. They deliver municipal water from the city that they live in. And it's already chlorinated and all that stuff, but I still don't drink tap water. So I put in this filtration system, and under the sink here, I've got a filtration system here. This is by Whirlpool. It's a 3-stage compressed carbon block filter. It also has a built-in sensor timer in it that tells you when the light starts flashing, tells you it'll be yellow first. That says get ready. It's going to be time to change your filters. When it goes to red, that means change your filters. Okay, bullshit. That's just to sell you more filters. That happens every 6 months. All I do is take it apart, pull the battery out, put the battery back in, and I go another 6 months. Once a year, I change those filters. And then the water is always crystal clear and good tasting that comes out of there, okay? So if you're putting swamp water through it, then I'd say change it every month. But the way I do it, I don't need to do that. All right, everybody. That's all I have for today. Questions and comments down below. I hope this answers all the questions that I got about water systems and what to do for hot water and filtrations and storage tanks and all that kind of stuff. The Mari hot water heater is a great little water heater. I did get it through Home Depot. It was a special order item delivered right to the door. And I ordered this one online, and they wouldn't deliver it to my address, but they delivered it to my friend's address down in Orange County, and I just went and picked it up. So this is a Procom, and it's 30,000 BTU. So it does a really nice job. And if I turn it on here, you can see the flame just pops right on. It's got a thermostat set on it. I usually set it at around just a little over number 2. And that keeps it at just around, well, 74 degrees, which is plenty warm. I mean, it's really warm. Most people say 68. But, you know, once I get change into my birthday suit, I like 74 better than 68. And this place is so well insulated. I've got R19 in all of the walls, and I've got R30 under the floors and in the ceilings. So it's really well insulated. It's been called I can't think of the company name for the coolers, but it's been called a very efficient beer cooler type system because it's so well insulated. It holds heat really well. So most of the day and night, the only thing that's running is a pilot light. And I brought this in here, and I'm going to be taking it out pretty soon. But I brought this in because I had to do laundry inside on a really cold day with a lot of moisture from the rains and that stuff. And I turned that on, and I had a clothesline stretch from this window to that window. And I hung my clothes inside to dry. All right, everybody, that's all I have. Thanks for joining me. Don't forget, questions and comments below. Don't forget the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you all. This is G Bear signing off.